Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business. With advice and insights from the best in the biz, I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. On today's episode, we are delighted to welcome Brooke Pfautz. He is a dynamic CEO. He's a founder. He's an entrepreneur. He has a track record in software that is impressive, and in hospitality and property management. Brooke is the visionary behind Vintory or Vintory. We all call it different things in the industry, but it is a leading sales and marketing platform for vacation rental managers. And now he has something brand new called Comparent, which is a new tool designed to help homeowners find and connect with property managers. And I just want to say that he's also written a book that wasn't in my bio to start with, but I know this book is just an amazing book. I'm hoping we'll touch on that. But he is a trailblazer, an innovator, and has had extraordinary growth in what he does. His expertise in inventory acquisition and his market leadership is unparalleled. Let's dive into how Brooke is shaping the future of vacation rental management. And he is. Welcome, Brooke.
Wow, what an intro. My mom would be very proud. Thank you.
It's all true, though. You know, it's all true. And I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a really great interview, because what I'm going to ask you is, tell me your best advice you would give to vacation rental managers in 2024 and 2025. We're already finished with our summer season already.
Wow, that's a loaded question to say the least. There's lots of different things, different areas you can go on that. But I mean, the first thing is, I think you have to be, just in general, you have to be unique. You have to be different. You think about it, so many companies, we're all doing the same thing when it's all said and done. And if you don't differentiate, you don't do anything that is unique, what's going to make you stand out? So differentiate, be remarkable. There's a great friend of mine, Sean McGregor, down in Austin, Texas, and he has this policy. He only charges a commission if he gets a 5-star review. And how's that for unique, and different? And that's his differentiator right there. So I would say, if you're going to do this, if you're going to build a company, be remarkable and be unique.
Wow. So let's talk about some of the things you're doing too. What motivated you to start Comparent? And tell everybody what Comparent is, and tell me how that fits into your broader vision for Vintory.
Of course. Yeah. So I started Vintory about, almost 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago. But all along, and it's been going great. We've helped over 800 companies with their inventory growth efforts. And just to be clear, we only do one thing. We only help professional vacation rental managers add more inventory. We're not doing anything on the guest side. We don't do anything on the operations side. We focus exclusively on supply or getting more properties. But what I realized was, from helping, over 800 different companies, was it's really hard. It's really hard. And driving all that traffic, and building out all those campaigns. And what I realized was, many people, if you're a vacation rental homeowner, there isn't any website, there isn't any place that you can go and shop and compare for professional management. And if you think about it, almost every other vertical, almost every other industry out there, this exists, right? You have Angie's List, you have Yelp, you have, even Google reviews, but all these companies are focused on different verticals, and there was nothing set up for the short-term rental industry specifically for management company. And I said, you know what? Well, we have more information than probably anybody. We have, what I would argue is not only the largest database of vacation rental homeowners on the planet, but I would also argue we probably have the largest database of professional vacation rental managers on the planet. And we have so much information about them. We have their reviews. We've been compiling from VRBO and Airbnb and Google. We have all their metrics from, those platforms as well, like their ADR and their occupancy. And we have how many properties they have by bedroom type and by property type, like condo, single family, villa, whatever it happens to be. So we have this data already. Why don't we publish it? Why don't we push it out there and make it very transparent? And the whole goal here was really a couple of things. The first is to elevate the entire industry. I'm a big believer, if you provide this information and you make it public, it ultimately elevates the entire industry. Now, just like, I know it can be annoying sometimes, getting reviews and being held hostage a little bit by guests. if you're a management company. And look, I have a vacation rental property myself, and I know what it's like. I'm gonna jump a little bit higher. I'm gonna work a little bit harder, knowing that they do have a little bit of leverage on me and they can leave a review. And the same thing in here, I think, is true. If we can publish all these reviews, make it transparent, and have that information shine, it's going to elevate the entire industry. And if we can connect homeowners with the right managers, and that's the key part there, connecting them together the right way, I think eventually we'll figure out actually how to monetize this thing. Right now, we're not even worried about monetizing it. All we want to do is create that marketplace to really, provide that transparency and connect the, homeowners and professional managers.
Well, that sounds fun. And that sounds like a lot of work. It's also very exciting and it's new, it's trailbreaking in this industry. I'm going to ask you a bit about entrepreneurship as we go along, but I really want to focus on your book that I loved. By the way, if you haven't had the book, if you don't have the book, how do they get your book, Brooke?
Well, there's two books, so it depends which book you want, but
I like
you can.
both, actually. They're both good. I would say the first book. So,
Yeah, so from 0 to 500 properties in 5
yeah.
years, and that was really just everything I learned from, building, my company, Managers or Realty. I grew that company from 0 to 500 properties in 5 years, exited it, and then had various other roles in the leadership industry. But yeah, that really kind of chronicles my journey there, and then everything I learned, and then also, in the first couple years of building Vintory, and helping many, hundreds of different companies. So yeah, so if they want to get it, they can email me, Brooke, Brooke at Vintory.com, or you can follow me on LinkedIn and just DM me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm happy to send you a free copy. Or if you want, it's on Amazon as well. If you do purchase it on Amazon, we do proceed, all 100% of proceeds go directly to advocacy efforts for the vacation rental industry. So I do not make one penny on the book at all. So if you do choose to buy it, and you can get it on Audible as well, just know that you are going, those proceeds are going to a good cause.
I bought mine on Amazon.
Good.
So, guys, that's a book that's really going to give you a playbook on how to grow to 500 properties based on Brooke's experience. The other book that Brooke wrote that, oh man, it took the whole vacation rental industry by storm. It's really a storybook in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Yeah, it was funny because I had no intention of it actually becoming a book. It started literally Easter Sunday a couple years ago with one LinkedIn post where I asked somebody to share their top 10 mistakes, and that was it. And then for the next 52 days straight, I posted another leader in the industry and shared their mistakes with them. And what I think the reason I think it went so viral and it was so well received is, a couple of reasons. First is it's something humbling about, admitting your mistakes. It's also something humbling about seeing really, very successful people that are sharing their mistakes. People like Steve Schwab with Casago, or Clark Twitty, with Twitty Vacation Rentals, like these very successful entrepreneurs and leaders, and they're sharing their top 10 mistakes. I think that was kind of interesting. And also the second part, the most important part, is you learn from those mistakes. That's really where you get your learnings. And if you think about it, all these people have come, before us. If you're just, especially if you're just starting out in the industry, you know, learn from these people, learn from those mistakes. I mean, I wish I had a book like this and could read this kind of knowledge and learn from that when I was building it, because you know what, and it's funny because we all made, when it was all said and done, we all made very similar mistakes. So if you're just getting
That's
started,
true.
or even if you're a seasoned veteran, I highly recommend you get that book and read it, because there's so much great knowledge in there. And it's just an easy read too, just the way it's kind of broken up in the book.
Give me the I know that when you compiled all that, there had to have been some things that really stood out to you. Tell our listeners, because this is a show about growing your vacation rental business, tell your listeners some of the things that just really caught you by surprise about, number one, uh, about growing the business, the mistakes or either the smashes that they did that were so good.
Well, I think, man, there's so many, but they fell into 10 buckets, but it was all said and done. It was kind of interesting. For the most part, everyone's mistakes for the most part fell together, but I think there was a couple of ones that really kind of surprised me. The first is how almost everybody took on the wrong inventory and the wrong properties in the early days, and they would sign up any property that they could. And it was almost always, a false and or taking on the wrong owners. And then another one was that was kind of surprising to me was how many people brought up the mistake of not partnering with local competitors and kind of locking arms and actually building those bonds and extending an olive branch. It's so many of these markets. It's so highly competitive, and you see each other out, at restaurants and bars and things like that. And there's kind of like it's almost like a team like animosity against them. But the most successful companies they learned, and the most successful leaders here learned from those mistakes that actually it's much better to extend that olive branch and become friends and learn from your local competitors. And there's enough business to be had out there when it's all said and done.
How We Grow has partnered with Lynell Gordon to bring the vacation rentals market custom protection products built for the needs of the vacation rental industry. Enjoy complete protection for both your travelers and your owners via the industry's leading travel, damage, and liability protection products. Learn more about the travel tech industry's most advanced travel and damage protection platform and API at rentalguardian.com.
I think one of the most interesting things for me with this podcast has been the fact that so many property managers have said, like you say, the same thing. And that's because they're basic business principles. And no matter whether you're doing property management, whether you're running a software company, whether you're running another tech company, you find so many of the same issues that we all deal with to work on.
Yep.
So tell me what advice you would give to new or aspiring entrepreneurs, not just in the vacation rental industry or in any industry. What are the top 3 pieces of advice that you would give them, Brooke?
Yeah, I mean, the first comes down to team. It's always about team. Hire smarter than yourself. Right? Easier said than done. It's you are only as good as your team that you hire. And when you're going through those tough times, especially as you're really kind of going through growth mode, like we have at Vintory and comparing, it's like the best way to scale and kind of to take some of that stress off your shoulders is just to hire a really good team member. And in the early days, you know what? You need more of generalists. You need the utility player that can do anything. And then as you grow and you get bigger, you need more of a specialist. But leverage personality. I'm a huge believer in psychometric personality assessments. There's a bit of absolute game changer for us, and I've been using those for close to a decade. And making sure you get the right person in the right seats, and that's so mission critical. The second part is, that's been really helpful for me is EOS. Find some entrepreneurial operating system, find some kind of framework that helps you with your business. I mean, even though I went to business school, but when it was all said and done, they didn't teach me how to build a business. They didn't teach me how to do the day to day. Yes, I learned how to make some really cool spreadsheets and, finance, had balance sheets and P&Ls and all connected, had to rebuild, AT&T's entire financial package. You know what I mean? But that didn't teach me one thing about how to actually operate a company. So find a framework that works for you. There's many different ones out there. One of the common themes that came up in Vacation Rental Secrets was how many people mentioned EOS. So go, you can download the book on Amazon, Traction by Gino Wickman, and then or you can hire a facilitator to help you with that process. But I've been leveraging EOS from day one with Vintory, and it's really helped us. Especially also, I mean, I think it's also been very beneficial in the fact that we're 100% remote, our team. I really wanted everyone to have some vacation rental experience when I launched this company. And I live in Baltimore, Maryland, and I don't know if but Baltimore is not the vacation capital of the world. So therefore, if I wanted people with vacation rental experience, I had to hire remote. And the fact we were able to build that culture, build those frameworks and the systems, leveraging tools like EOS, I think has been very helpful. And
Explain on a lower level, what is your EOS and
Yeah,
how can they use it?
Yeah, so EOS is a system of different tools that you can use, and it's meant intentionally for small businesses, and it's meant for and there's a tool out there called 90.io you can leverage. It's a SaaS platform that you can kind of help you run it, but it's a couple different things. Anything from running effective meetings. They have something called level 10 meetings, which is super helpful. It's just a very good structured meeting. It's an hour and a half every single week for every single department. But you think it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have an hour and a half. But you know what? It actually ends up saving time when it's all said and done. But it has a very structured format, which is very beneficial. And then they leverage something called rocks. Rocks are the 90-day goals. And what you do is you set the departmental rocks or the company rocks, and then each department will kind of set their departmental rocks. And then it flows down to every team member. And ideally, you should get, 70 to 80% of the rocks should roll up to, I guess, either departmental rocks or the company rocks in one standpoint. And it's amazing because now you get this alignment of the team. Everybody's rowing in the same direction, right? And that's when magic happens. And then they have another thing called scorecard, which is, I'm sure, KPIs and metrics, and it's like your dashboards. And there's a whole series. I mean, there's probably a dozen different tools like that. But I think if people just follow rocks and L10 meeting, they will get, so much impact out of that. And then you can start adding on some of the other processes that they have.
And this is, guys, this is basic management. Brooke's coming at it from a different view than a lot of people on the show. He's actually coming from the point of view of someone who has a business degree, because that's where you learn about all these things when you go to business school.
Well, on that point, real quick, just Matt Durrett, one of our partners, Cozy Vacation Rentals, and he was a contributor to the book. He has an MBA. And I remember he said, and he had, one of the big Fortune 100 companies paid for his MBA, and it was, tens of thousands of dollars every semester. And he said he got much more out of EOS than he did his fancy MBA.
Yeah, for sure. It's a down-to-earth kind of platform to make sure that you're running your business the way you should. Believe it or not, a lot of people who go through Keller Williams training you never stop training with Keller Williams. But the first 2 years, when I went through that training, they have a lot of systems that they put in place. They're not calling it the same thing, but that's exactly what it is, to help you run a business and not just sell a piece of property. So tell me what the number 3 was.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. We have people, we have EOS. It's really just culture. And I know, that's, thrown around so very often. But it's just building a good culture and a good team, I think, is so critically important. But it all kind of comes back to that first point I made is, hiring the right people and getting the right people in the right seats. If you get the right people in the right seats, I think the culture flows from there. So we have a saying at Vintory, we don't measure hours worked or where you work, we measure outcomes. So, if people, like I wake up between 4 and 5 a.m. every single day. That is my most productive time. From that 4 to 8 window, I am highly successful. I'm productive. I'm getting stuff done. But if you look at me at the end of the day, I'm fried. You know what I mean? By 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I am just totally toast and I can't do anything. So if people want to take, wake up early and then go for, a jog in the middle of the day and call it quits, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm fine. As long as, you're hitting your KPIs and your metrics, that's all that matters for me. So I think the third point here is really just building a good culture and a good team and building some camaraderie within the team as well.
I got more done between the hours of 7, probably 6 to 8 before everybody came into business. Because afterwards, if you're the CEO or the COO, or if you're head of anything, they're pulling at you all day long and you're solving problems, making decisions all day long. So you're right. That's the one time that you can plan. You can use that to do your goals for the week, for the day, for the quarter, whatever you're doing. So I've waited a long time to have you. I'm so happy that you were able to come on. What I want you to have here, though, Brooke, is the opportunity and platform to talk to people who are in vacation rentals. What would you say to them? What do you want to say? I mean, I'm asking your advice, of course, to give to them.
Well, so I think that's a very open-ended question. So I go a million different ways, but obviously with, my experience really being in everything in, inventory acquisition, if you think about it, the last almost 6 years, I've focused almost all my time into inventory acquisition, Vantage growing from 0 to 500 properties. That's really been my focus. I would say a couple things related to that is first, the greatest lever that you can pull that has the greatest impact on your bottom line is new inventory. If you think about it, obviously there's 3 different levers you can pull. There's one, you can, maybe you can revenue management, you can optimize, maybe you can optimize it by 5%, you get a little bit of lift, and you need to do those things, don't get me wrong. Or maybe you go out there and with marketing and distribution and channel management, you go out and you get additional bookings. But those are only the great impact of those, they're pretty nominal when it's all said and done. The lever that has the greatest impact 100% is inventory. I mean, adding one property is like getting 100 reservations. it has this multiplier effect. We've actually gone through, we've done some studies, we surveyed our partners, and the equivalent lift of getting inventory versus those other two channels I just mentioned was like 4 to 6 times the impact if you just add, like one property per month. So I'd say is the first part is inventory is super, super valuable. If you want to grow your business, the quickest, easiest way to do it is add inventory, but add the right inventory that you want that meets your goals. It's pretty important. And and just go through the math. And people are afraid sometimes to, I think, invest a little bit in growing that inventory, but there is a solid ROI. And I'm apologizing in advance to any kind of the people that are not necessarily very math inclined, but if you add one property, if your average gross booking revenue is say $50,000, which is what really pretty close to what the average gross booking revenue was last year, if you follow the industry averages, you should net about $5,000 per year in profits, about 10% of the gross booking revenue. And the average property stays in a rental program for 10 years. So $5,000 in profits times 10 years, that's $50,000 in lifetime value. So you'll notice the theme there. That was what the top line gross booking revenue was. So as long as you fall within industry averages, within churn, what percentage of inventory you lose in a given year, and your gross margins or your net margins, which is 10% on average, your gross booking revenue is equal to your lifetime value in profits. So if you go out there, Lynell, and you signed up a property doing $100,000 in gross booking revenue, you can almost take it to the bank that you're going to make $100,000 over the next 10 years from that one property. So what is your willingness to pay? How much would you pay to acquire that new management contract? And you'd be surprised. Some people are like, oh, I'd pay a referral fee of $500 to realtor, but that's the max. I'm like, are you kidding me? You'd only pay $500 for a stream of income that's going to make you $100,000 over the next 10 years. And there's a reason why private equity is going out there and buying these contracts. There's so many different private equity companies that are rolling up management companies because they see this predictable recurring revenue. And the average purchase price, I'm sure you know Jacoby Olin. Jacoby said last year, the average purchase price was $29,000 per contract on average across the board, across $250 million worth of M&A transactions. So think about that. If private equity, which is the smartest money out there supposedly, is okay paying $29,000 for a contract, and you're only going to pay $500 per contract, there's a reason that delta is way off. So don't be afraid to invest in growing your inventory. Don't be afraid to get the right inventory and, investing in it, whether it's, paying referral fees to realtors or marketing efforts, whatever happens to be. But, spend a little bit more than $500 to get a new property because it's worth it.
Very well said. And I got to tell you guys, if you don't have Brooke's books that he's written, they're really worth reading. They are. They're basically a study in business management and entrepreneurship, growing your business. Very brilliant guy. Can people reach out to you if they have questions, Brooke?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm always open to help. I love helping out. I love this industry. I'm passionate about it. So they can email me, brooke@vintory.com. Or again, if you follow me on LinkedIn and DM me on LinkedIn, happy to answer any kind of questions that anybody has. I really, really do enjoy helping people out.
And I just want to say that Brooke has a lot more experience, guys, than just founding companies and running companies, building property management. He really does understand property management from the bottom up. And he's worked in sales and marketing for software. You're such a great resource for people. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come on, Brooke, and give people your take on property management and what's happening. You want to make any predictions for 2025? What's going to happen?
Wow, predictions. Let's see. I would say the business will continue to grow. It will not be at the kind of obviously the hyper growth we saw during the COVID boom, but we'll have this nice slow, growth, which I think is good and healthy for the entire industry. I think I'm afraid to even go down the Vacasa prediction route and see what will happen with Vacasa.
Something will happen with Vacasa. No, there you go.
Something will. How about that? Something will happen with Vacasa. We'll leave it at that.
And let me ask you this: what do you think will happen with our booking window that has been so cray this year?
You know what? So I spend most of my time focused now, on the supply side and growth side. So I don't really have any kind of insights to it. But I would say just historically, it just seems like that booking window is getting shorter and shorter over time, and people are looking for more and more flexible vacations. I know, in the market that I really grew up in, Ocean City and Bethany, it was always a very traditional 7-day, kind of a window, and you booked 6 months in advance. And I've seen just historically over time that window has gotten much, much shorter. And I've seen that the stays have gotten much, much shorter too. People are looking for odd reservations, and it's not this historical Saturday to Saturday type rental. So I mean, I know that's kind of like pretty table stakes. Everyone kind of knows this is happening, but I think that's just that trend will continue.
I think it's continue. I think you're right. I think it will too. Thank you again for being with us. Anytime you want to come back, hit me up on LinkedIn. Would love to hear how things are going with Comparent and how that goes. And guys, if you're seeing any results from Comparent, just reach out to me. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts on what's going on with this in the industry. And you need some help with acquisition, Vintory's right here, guys. Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This episode of How We Grow is brought to you by Rental Guardian. To find out more about how Rental Guardian can help grow your vacation rental business, visit rentalguardian.com. Make sure to search for How We Grow in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.